Ask for your presence and leading. And we ask that may you come and take your seat in this program and make it a success. We ask for grace, excellence, and utterance for her. And all these we ask and pray in the name of Christ Jesus, our Lord, with thanksgiving. Amen.
We shall remain standing as we sing the UCC anthem. The text to the anthem is on page 12 of the brochures you have been given.
Sí.
Kindly take your seat. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to welcome you to the School of Graduate Studies auditorium, where this afternoon we will witness Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah deliver her inaugural lecture on the topic Confronting a HYDRA-Headed Problem, Human Papillomavirus, Cervical Cancer, and the Quest for Elimination in Resource-Constrained Settings. At this juncture, I would ask, our chairman is a professor of coastal ecology and interdisciplinary ocean studies, a distinguished scholar with over 15 years of scientific project management experience. Our chairman about international academic partnerships in his area of professional work. He has an outstanding intellectual publication record on conflict issues. He serves on many national and international boards, and holds many meritorious awards for his contributions to his field of professional work. Ladies and gentlemen, our chairman is the acting vice chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. Help me welcome Professor Dennis of the University of Cape Coast. Help me welcome Professor Dennis Wolanyo Aheto.
Of the University of Cape Coast, Mr. Jeff, Professor Yao Edusa Akodie, former Provost of the College of Health, KNUST, Deans, Directors of Academic and Administrative Units of the University of Cape Coast, Heads of Departments and Heads of Halls, Members of Convocation, thank you very much. On behalf of the Governing Council, management and staff, as well as students of the University of Cape Coast, I warmly welcome you all to this professorial inaugural lecture. Service at the University of Cape Coast. This tradition remains an important feature of our academic culture. This occasion marks university-wide audience, showcasing their scholarship and beyond, while enriching the intellectual life of the university. Each lecture, therefore, offers an opportunity for the professor to present their research achievements. Having said that, perhaps celebrate Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah. I'm sorry, I need to clear my voice. Although Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah was promoted to the rank of professor in 2021, today marks the formal celebration of this significant milestone before a broad audience of colleagues, family, friends, and the general public in her lecture on the quest for elimination in resource-constrained settings. Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah will synthesize her extensive scholarly contributions in the field of clinical microbiology, particularly in the areas of HPV. Moving forward, I'll be using the word HPV, infection, cervical cancer prevention, and public health. Now present her profile. Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah is a professor of clinical microbiology in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology, School of Medical Sciences, here at the University of Cape Coast. She began as Eastern Region and continued to Obiri Girls Senior High School, where she led her school's team to the second National Brilliant Science and Maths Quiz. She briefly attended Koforidua Nursing Training College before gaining midstream admission to the School of Medical Sciences at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, Kumasi. There, she earned both a BSc in Human Medical student. Yes, let's make sure that the claps flow for her, so that the room can be lively. Driven by her passion for microbiology, she obtained an MSc in clinical microbiology with distinction from the University of Nottingham, UK. She subsequently completed a PhD in clinical microbiology through a split-site program between KNUST and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, London. In addition, she has received training certificates in a wide range of disciplines from institutions across the globe, including hemodialysis, hemodialysis training in the Shonan Kamankura General Hospital and biotechnology applied to tuberculosis from the University of Lausanne in Switzerland and from the Maastricht University in Netherlands. Besides these academic programs, she has received extensive leadership training through her selection in Germany. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to touch on aspects of her professional career. Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah began her professional career as a medical doctor at the CONFRONTING Teaching Hospital in Kumasi in 2004, but moved to the then Central Regional Hospital, currently the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, in 2005. In 2009, she joined the School of Medical Sciences as a lecturer whilst continuing to promote clinical care, a significant role in the development of academic programs in the university. She has served as a master's and PhD thesis assessor for many institutions in Ghana and internationally. Now, her research profile. As a researcher, Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah demonstrates clearly multi- and transdisciplinary approaches to research, resulting in over 130 peer-reviewed journal publications in reputable journals. As for screening and treatment of cervical pre-cancer lesions, for cervical cancer prevention, and the guidelines for use of mRNA tests for HPV, and many others. As a principal investigator or co-investigator, she has submitted numerous grant applications and has been successful in several competitive grants, including the highly competitive National Institute of Health and European Commission grants. Thank you very much. This one, I did not have Department of Internal Medicine at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Here at UCC, she has served on numerous committees and boards, including several as chairperson. She has also served in many interagency committees or boards and continues to provide her service to foster collaborations and establish linkages between academia and industry. Some of these include, but are not limited to, the African Expert Trainer for International Deans course for Africa by the Osnabrück University of Applied Sciences in collaboration with DAAD. Also the German Rectors Conference and the Center for Higher Education, Germany. Chairperson Advisory Board, EDCTP funded talent program. Country Ambassador, International. This word is really tough. I will try. Country Ambassador in International Papillomavirus Society. I made it. Because I could not remember the short form this time. Member Training Advisory Committee, Expand Nigeria, NJH, D43 funded projects. Member Advisory Board, West African Network of Excellence for TB, AIDS, and Malaria. Member National Pediatric HIV Task Force Team in Ghana. National Trainer and Monitoring Team member for HIV and TB Management. Also, member Ministry of Health, WHO Ghana, Technical Working Group for the Development of National Cervical Cancer Strategy for Ghana. Also including Accreditation Team, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I now move on to her leadership roles. Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah has held many administrative positions throughout her academic career, including clinical training coordinator, Head of Department, Dean of the School of Nursing and Midwifery, and Deputy Director of our Directorate of Research, Innovation and Consultancy, DREC. In addition to these, she has played leadership roles in many committees and societies. She is a co-chair of the West Africa Health Organization, WAHO, Infectious Disease Research Network. And hopefully you'll be telling us more about it. Additional awards and achievements. Professor Obiri-Yeboah has won many other awards and recognitions, demonstrating her scholarly acumen and sterling accomplishments. Notable among these are the CCTH Dialysis Unit and Executive Recognition International Women's Day 2024, CCTH 25th Anniversary Staff Recognition Award, DAD sponsorship for the International Dean's Course, Commonwealth Scholarship towards both the Masters and the then split-side PhD studies in the UK, WHO TDR Sponsorship Award towards Advanced Tuberculosis Immunology Training in Switzerland, Ghana Medical Association Best Overall Medical Student Award, JW A Champion Prize for the Best Overall Student of the Junior and Senior Clerkship in Medicine, JW A Champions Prize for the Best All-Round Student in Final MB-CHB Examination, Adoku Force Prize for Best Student in Medicine, JGA Wood Prize for the Best All-Round Student at the final Part 1 of the MB-CHB Examination, Mrs. Beatrice Boam-Throat. Now, and finally to your background. Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah was born in 1977 to the late Mr. Emmanuel Kobua Odey and Mrs. Mary Obiri-Yeboah, and has one daughter, Castella Obiri-Yeboah, and many other wards. Yes, it's not a joke. I've been sweating, as you can see. Prof, congratulations. Thank you for your attention.
Ago. 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 Medo ago namilo. F1. Standing on existing protocols, I greet you. Can I get a smile? Can you please do it in a grand style? Mister? Yes, sir. No one done a chance, a chance, I don't know now, man, quite in a simple su yin some qua. Yes, so a chance, one, sir. So free intense, Tia on tense. Michasham. It in some num. And some of the AP. And some no more P. These words will make you happy. These words are sweeter than hello wappy. And some word that a chain could bensu. But I'm not a coconut seller, I'm just a storyteller. I stand on the stages and I tell stories flipping through the pages of the ages. In the gallery of my mind's diary, I pictured memories that tell beautiful stories. Stories of now and old. Stories that mold us into shining gold. So I come to tell you stories about she. This is not a childish play. So this is not Ampe, she, Papa. I bring you good news, but I'm not evangelist Papa She. I'm only here to talk about she. She is a piece of artwork. She is an activity of divinity's creativity at work. Eklena abesika ene. Wotu gbejeje. The topa. She's a human. She is a woman. She bears a nation or woman. She carries another human or humans in her womb for months. Oh, the pain, the blood stains, all for the world's gain. The battles, the struggles in the labor ward. She deserves an award. Indeed, she is a warrior, breaking every barrier in any career. She is industrious. She is talented and genius. She is characterized by excellence. She's praised for her diligence. Oh, she is adored for her competence. She only aims for excellence. She is the lioness in confidence. She is the perfect reference. She's capable. She is poised and unflappable. She's unstoppable. She's admirable. She's incorruptible. She's invaluable. She is here. She is here, she is there, and she is everywhere. Oh, she is here. She is there, and she is everywhere. She's a mother. By your bad time, or your dojina ni mechi se obutain, ni muni time, or abadaye, enitima. Senedriane akadi obedi mpa otema. She is here. She's there, and she is everywhere. So today, we came to celebrate she, and it's a singular privilege to welcome one of the many she's in our midst. So with a round of applause, shall we welcome Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah.
Wow. It feels very unreal to be standing here. The Acting Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Dennis Bolanyo Aheto, the Registrar, Mr. Gideon Abekwe Esquire, past Vice Chancellors present and Pro-Vice Chancellors present, Chairman and members of the College of Professors, Provosts, Deans, Directors, Heads of Departments, faculty and staff, distinguished invited guests, family, friends, the media, students, and all protocols observed, as we always say. A very good afternoon to you. I am most grateful for the opportunity to be standing here this afternoon to give my inaugural professorial lecture. As you heard, and I think everybody in UCC now knows, I grew in Suhum, Krabuakota district. So there, growing up, you don't think of becoming a professor and giving a professorial lecture. The first time I actually heard of the word, it was with my colleague, the late Anna Heffron Benjamin. I was a new doctor at the Central Regional Hospital. She was a new nurse, and we were on weekend duty. So we were just at the A&E, and then she asked me why I moved to Cape Coast. And I said, oh, I've heard that there's going to be a medical school in UCC, and I want to be part of it right from the beginning. Then you will become a professor, and I will organize your professorial inaugural lecture. And I said, and what is that one do? And 20 years down the line, here I am. Unfortunately, she's not here. Prof Chair, as a clinical microbiologist and clinical researcher, I could have given this lecture on a number of infectious conditions, viral hepatitis, TB, HIV, AIDS, but right here, because they are now leading those. So I chose today to speak to you on my own passion, and that has to do with, as you've heard the topic, confronting a HYDRA-HEADED problem, human papilloma virus, cervical cancer, and the quest for elimination in resource-constrained settings. I will explain this topic soon, so don't worry about it. At the end of it, I hope to get all of us to agree that we do have a problem on our hand. It is definitely HYDRA-HEADED, and that the only way to have a solution is for an all-hands-on-deck approach where we work together, no longer in silos, in interdisciplinary fashion to confront this enemy and therefore win the quest against it. I will outline my contribution in this quest and how my approach over the years, over the decade, has evolved into what now is a system-based interdisciplinary approach. If you don't get anything from this lecture, I'm hoping that the take-home message you will get is that, yes, we do have our enemy. We know that enemy quite well. We know what works against that enemy. And therefore, my job this afternoon is to invite all of you to join that quest to eliminate this virus and the problems it causes. So why this topic? Please, I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey with me. This journey starts somewhere around 2005. And let's meet Mrs. Benson. That is just a name I've given her. And being infantile, the name has to have a sin at the end. So Mrs. Benson is a woman I've known for quite a while. And around this time, ahead of her death, I got to hear it was from cervical cancer. And I wondered, she is from quite a rich family as far as I knew, and quite educated. How did this happen? But well, as I moved on with my life. Then comes me. So this is not a pseudonym. So this is me around 2007 with my daughter, 1 month old, to do my master's in the UK. I registered in the health system to make sure we receive care. And a few days later, I got notification. You haven't had your cervical screening, so you should book an appointment. And I was like, did I take some wrong bus when I did this? So I ignored it. A reminder came. I ignored it. Then we routinely went to the clinic, and this health worker will not stop asking me about my cervical screening. So I said, you know what? Do what you want and let me get away with it. And that is how I got my first pap smear. When the results came, it said everything was fine. You should rescreen. I looked at the data. I said, thank God, I'll be back in Ghana. Nobody will be bothering me about this thing anymore. I'm ashamed to say this. Remember, I was a doctor, had practiced for about 4 years. But when I was asked to screen, I really didn't get the idea of why at all. Now, a bit down the line, let's meet Mrs. Jefferson. Her story with me started a bit before I go to the UK. She was a woman living with HIV. She came to the clinic down by the family. They didn't expect her to survive. But by the time I was leaving, she was a happy, loud, laughing woman. I come back and she was not in the clinic. I checked. Long story short, she had cervical cancer, diagnosed in advanced stage, could not get cured, and soon after I followed up, she died. That woke me up. That was the time I remembered my screening experience. I remembered Mrs. Benson, and I said, there is something we are not looking at. So with the same passion with which HIV became my work, I said, let me tackle this. It didn't take long after going around to realize that there was no real system in place. There was nothing I thought there was nothing I could do. So I gave up on it. A few years down the line, wanting to do my PhD, I remember going to sit in front of Prof. who is here, and giving him my lecture topic on hepatitis B, and said, I wish I could do this as a split site in UK. Then he said, if you wouldn't mind starting all over again, and if you would want to consider looking into the issue of HPV and cervical cancer, I could link you to a colleague and we could co-supervise you. And I said, yes. Somehow I suddenly realized there was something I could do again. And that was how my work in HPV started. So it's been quite a journey. But why am I describing this as a HYDRA-HEADED problem? Well, today is a bit of a storytelling day. So again, in a land far, far away, long, long ago, lived a happy, peaceful community until a monster reared its head. Beginning to kill everybody, this monster had many heads, and a man, brave one, decided to go on a quest to conquer it. But he soon realized that if he targeted one head, when he cut it off, two more grew it in place of it, and the monster just got stronger. So he realized he had to re-strategize. There was the need for other people to come on board. There was a need to re-look at the issue and target all the heads together. Over the decade, it's clear, and anybody working in the field of HPV and cervical cancer knows that we have a really complex problem. It has biological aspects, it has social behavioral aspects, and the health system challenges, governance issues that need to be addressed. But the good thing is, in the story of the HYDRA-HEADED monster, that monster was conquered. And that is the good news I want you to keep in mind, that this problem can be handled. Our monster can be conquered. But let me introduce you a bit, and please don't worry about his big name. I'm going to, as VC asked me to do, try to talk about it in a way that everybody here can at least understand what I'm talking about. So, the human papillomavirus, mainly sexually transmitted, and I'll highlight why I underline mainly. Based on the genetic structure, we know there are many, many types, with even genital types being over 40 of them. Broadly speaking, we group this virus into two. We talk about high-risk HPV, meaning that if you are infected with those numbers, your chance of getting cervical cancer is high. If you are infected with the low-risk numbers, they don't cause cervical cancer, but causes other problems. Just briefly on the structure, is just to point out that using HPV-16 as a basis, you see that there is an E6, E7 oncogene, that is the cancer-causing types, and this is what the high-risk type used to cause cancer. There's coloring in the naming matters. For many decades, we knew that HPV-16 and 18 were the worst. As the epidemiological study evolved, we know HPV-45 behaves similarly. And as studies from our settings in lower and middle income countries started coming in, we are questioning the role of 31, 33, 35, and others and their potential contribution. And among the low risk type, we know that HPV 6 and 11 are the worst. I do not need you to keep these numbers in mind at all. So we have high risk causing cancer, we have low risk causing other things and not cancer. I hope that one is fine. Good. So why does it matter? Can you see this? 4 out of 5 adults will have an HPV infection at some point in their life. Can we start counting now? 4 out of 5. And if the men think that we said cervical cancer, so they are out of the story, please, 1 in 3 men, 1 in 3 men, I repeat, are infected with genital HPV. So can we estimate the number here? So I hope you see the problem. And I call this virus a very sneaky one because not though we said mainly sexually transmitted, this is one that behaves quite atypically because it is able to be transmitted through other means than penetrative sex and therefore posing a higher risk. If you get to read this news letter number 129, you will get to know many ways people are acquiring HPV infection without necessarily having sex. So let's put together what this virus causes. So from the upper parts, we have throat and oropharyngeal cancers, and then respiratory lung. The low risk types cause problem there. And for both men and women, genital was and anorectal cancers. And of course, for men, penile cancer, and for women, cervical, vaginal, and vulvar cancer. So not just the cervical cancer we are highlighting, but we highlight that because that is the biggest problem HPV causes in terms of numbers. But let me show you this. Sorry, I've gone. Let me show you this just to make a point that when we talk about all these types of cancer, this is Ghana. So even with our limited screening data, all these types of HPV-associated cancers are found in Ghana. And I believe if we were actually screening, we would even find higher rates than this is showing. So globally, let's get some facts, now narrowing down to cervical cancer. These numbers may not mean much to you, but please take note of this. The deaths, when you put it in context, every 2 minutes somewhere in the world, a woman dies of cervical cancer. Can you estimate how many women died when my profile was being read? So this is really a problem. And if you think that somewhere in the world may not really relate to you, please take note. 9 in 10 of those happen in low and middle income countries. So this is a problem of resource constrained settings. 9 in 10, 9 out of 10. So this is our problem. And here, I'm not boring you with many numbers. I wanted to point out to you, these are new cases. And look at Ghana and compare the rates with the world. The reality is that Ghana has a high burden of HPV infections. This is the second commonest cancer. Cervical cancer is the second commonest cancer among women in Ghana after breast cancer. And yet screening rates are so low. And therefore, many preventable deaths are occurring. And if you put it in context, we have cervical cancer as the second cause of cancer-related death among women. Second. So hopefully that should get you worried. But how do we get there? Let's take a journey in the life of Akosua. Akosua is born with a nice pink cervix. Along the line, she gets HPV infection. 2 things could happen. In about 2 years, her own body, her immune system, could help clear it. That is what we hope. Or it could persist. She is unable to clear it for various reasons. And that starts the journey. Along the line, changes will start occurring on her cervix. We will start them as low grade, they will progress to high grade, and if we don't do anything, we will have invasive cervical cancer. Please take note how long it takes to get there. 15 to 20 years. Basically, HPV and cervical cancer are saying, catch me if you can, catch me. I'm giving you 20 good years to have stopped me in my track. But here we are, still having this as the second contributor to death. It is not acceptable. And we mentioned the role of the immune system. But what could we have done to stop this cancer? We could vaccinate. We could educate and make behavioral changes to prevent Akosia from getting HPV. In addition to that, we would have cervical screening, which allows us to pick changes quickly because those changes are curable. But invasive cervical cancer is not curable. And so we have things we could do. In the context of women living with HIV and why it seems you would have heard is a lot of my focus, the reason being this fact. When I started my PhD, this was more of a question and could easily kill them. Just a look at this and do not worry to read this. These two systematic reviews were trying to answer the question, does the fact that an HIV positive woman is on antiretroviral therapy means that then she's okay? Her risk of cervical cancer come back to okay like a woman without HIV? The final answer from both is no. HIV. The final answer from both is no. Though it gives some protection against therapy, which does manage the HIV very well, still have a higher risk of developing cervical cancer and therefore must be prioritized for interventions. So, we know our end of this problem. So WHO and the global authorities also came with approaches that demonstrate that this is truly a HYDRA-HEADED problem and cannot be tackled. Also came with approaches that demonstrate that this is truly a HYDRA-HEADED problem and cannot be tackled with one intervention. Do you note with one intervention? Do you note the elimination deadline? 4 years from now, we are supposed to have reached cervical cancer elimination, 2030. If we want to talk about where we are with these 90-70 targets, that is a lecture for another day. And I hope you get from me that it is not a positive look. So we definitely need to do something. So let's take each of these interventions just briefly. And understand what they mean. So HPV vaccines have been available since 2007. They are not new at all. Countries like Australia have basically reached the elimination target using HPV vaccines, nation that started long ago. Recommended age is 9 to 14 years and catch-up age of 15 to 26 years. As the studies went on, we started with vaccines that targeted only the two worst type of the cancer causing 16 and 18. Then other two were added, and then more. So you see how as we study this virus and get to know the contribution of the various types, it is supposed to also inform even vaccine development. So whichever vaccine you take, your protection is quite specific to that. Though we know scientifically there are some cross protection, it is not much. So this tells you I haven't shown any vaccine that targets all the high risk types. So despite vaccination, we still need to incorporate or combine that with screening. So screening recommendation is that we should test for the virus. After all, that is what if you have high risk HPV, we know you are at risk. So we want to test for the virus. But we could also check the service for changes that are occurring on the service to know whether somebody is heading towards cervical cancer. And we could do that with cytology or actually just looking at the service, apply acetic acid. So the lower you go down this list, the less useful, so to speak, these screening methods are. Women living with HIV should start screening at 25. Yeah? Or you are waiting for somebody to chase you like me. So if we did screen and we found lesions, treatment modality basically means we can clear the changes on the cervix transformation zone where this virus hides. And we could do that. We used to do ablation. And we could also, if they've advanced a bit, we could excise. All of these are simple, sometimes just a minute or two, and a woman would have stopped cervical cancer in its track. Minutes to stop a cancer. So why is it the second commonest cause of cancer-related death? Well, as we talk about this, I want to shift a bit and talk about what I have contributed to the body of knowledge up to this point. And I did mention that my approach has evolved, and this framework tried to give you an image that I will talk about more. Over the years, recognizing that siloed approaches do not work, but a system-based approach, and I'm going to talk about my contribution around 5 pillars, as you can see: the molecular epidemiology, primary, secondary prevention, health system strengthening, policy and implementation science, and how and what I have done under each of those. So let's take the first pillar. Over the years, from evidence synthesis, I have contributed with my team to data across Africa, but focusing more on Ghana, a lot from Burkina Faso, Benin, and others. Focusing more on women living with HIV, but also screening and mapping HPV in pregnant women, sex workers, and general population. Focusing on cervical cancer means we screen more from the cervix, but I've also contributed to work in the upper respiratory tract and also anorectal region recently. All the screening and molecular diagnostics that have been done with my team, what are our conclusions, or how do I summarize it? That HPV infection is really high in our context and is worse when you talk about women living with HIV, as hopefully now you know. We've had as high as 65% compared with 30%. Please, do you know the HIV prevalence in Ghana? I'm sure everybody know about HIV, but did you know that the HIV prevalence is less than 2%? And we are talking about 65% and 30%. And yet that is the one we do not know about. Women living with HIV have multiple high-risk HPV infections. And very importantly from our data is the contribution to the evidence that non-vaccine types, HPV types we don't have vaccines for yet, seem to be contributing significantly to issues, especially in lower and middle income countries in the West African sub-region, making it for us to advocate for a look at vaccine development further. So some of the publications based on this work are those down there. But this journey has not been easy. This is me in 2014, thereabout, in KCCR. And Professor Kodia here could tell you the story around how I could even get access to KCCR to do HPV molecular studies, because the infrastructure and equipment required and all of that was just not something there. Journeys of dawn, driving from Cape Coast to Kumasi, going straight to the lab, driving back, besting ties, all of that are stories in this picture, and you do not see those. But what you can see is that, from example, one of the papers that were in this is what later, when I submitted to Commonwealth scholarship or scholars competition, it won the best journal article. At least it makes the best tie worth it somehow. Then if we move from the molecular epidemiology to primary and secondary prevention, the HYDRA started becoming clear because we needed to look at, so what is happening? And from the team, we have identified, and this proven from many studies, the lack of awareness, limited access to screening, the cultural factors. You would be surprised how much we were begging even healthcare workers to come for free screening because they needed to lie down. A health worker needs to pass a speculum into the vagina and go and take a sample from the cervix to go and test. So even health workers have found that uncomfortable and were resisting. How many of you want to let me do that for you today? I see a man, I don't know which service I'm going to look at. And so, not surprisingly, screening rates are low. Vaccine started becoming available, but vaccine hesitancy is an issue. So, in one publication with my collaborators, we found from population-based surveys, screening rate as low as 1%. To the highest was 56% in South Africa. This was from 28 different countries, and Ghana was at 3%. Some would argue that maybe Ghana's screening rate is higher than we find. But the question is, where is the registry? Where is the database that is truly gathering how much we are screening? So we may be screening a bit more than 3%, but what you could find and verify says 3%. And so, and of course, not surprisingly, we found that women living with HIV had a higher chance of being screened because their risk was so much emphasized, people targeted them for screening. So you can see this is from the Jan et al. Publication, and all the papers that highlight some of these findings are there. So what could I do? Would we just continue finding that there's lack of awareness, limited access? No. So over the years, I have been involved in a lot of advocacy, media engagements at the national level and at the local levels. And I'm grateful to Central Region, all the media houses, they are always giving us airtime. And through social media posts, and some people here have been liking some of them, we have tried to raise the awareness level across the country. Good news from all of that, we can point out one very good news. Finally, after a lot of fighting and a lot of efforts, Ghana introduced HPV vaccination into our vaccination program in October 2025. For girls 9 to 14 years, they could be vaccinated for free. Okay. With the vaccine that targets the 4 vaccines. And so I'm hoping most of you here were aware of the school-based campaign that occurred, and then followed by now you could walk your 9-year-old girl to a health facility and get her vaccinated if she's not eligible. The target was what you see, and the 84.5% were what we achieved in the campaign period. My question to you here, is your daughter part of the 15.5 that did not get vaccinated? Would you own up and say yes? Then why? Are you seeing a need to maybe rethink this? And if it means asking a bit more questions, getting some clarification, please do. Please do. And see what you do to protect your daughter. So the men, is your daughter part of this group? It requires that you go home and ask, because sometimes they don't know what is happening. And when it comes to the screening, we also realize, as we said, resource constraint settings. But HPV genotyping that I did at KCCR is so expensive. There was no way anyone can use that for a national screening program. So as part of what we've been doing is exploring other modes of diagnosis that could be cheaper and more tailored towards resource constraint settings. Tests that could be near point of care, meaning a woman could come, get an HPV test, get the results, and it's followed up basically the same day. Then there was also the question of how to address the cultural barrier of clinicians having to go and take the sample. So it was coming up a lot in those days. Could a woman be taught how to take her own sample by herself and give it to us? And if we took it to the lab, would the results be comparable? And I want to highlight the findings from many studies from that, and now the WHO accepted strategy that self-sampling produces comparable results and is cost-effective, culturally preferred by most women, and so can increase access to cervical screening in resource-constrained settings. So this is where the world is moved to. Yesterday, we offered self-screening to female UTAC staff, and to be surprised, some were uncomfortable, not sure whether what they would take would be good. I hope you are getting the answer today that your samples have been proven to be as good as what could be taken by a clinician, and therefore reducing the need for exposure, and therefore reducing that barrier of the cultural effect of having to have the sample taken. So this is me in Burkina Faso. And at some points, if you start checking my publications, you will ask whether I'm a Burkinabe or Ghanaian. But this was my first trip to Burkina in 2014 or 15 to Seba, where we have a rep here, and going to test a system that at that time had been developed with resource constraint settings in mind to see whether it produces good enough results at the cheaper rate it proposes. And so these have also contributed to the evidence among the diagnostic options for cervical screening. Then as we move on, it was clear we need to move to action, and we have started trying to intervene. But as we were intervening, we were wondering whether our approaches to interventions were the best for our context. And that is where I'm happy to have met another collaborator, Prof. Nadia Samagudu, who would be online listening now, who introduced me to implementation science. Implementation science is basically asking the question, how do we make evidence-based interventions work in our context? So we know this works for some people. How do we make sure that in Ghana, it works in a way that can make it sustainable and scalable? Sustainability is at the core of implementation science. So through that process, we started adopting how we do our interventions and moved more towards co-creation of interventions. So we've sat down with women and they tell us what is wrong with the educational materials we had previously produced and were using to educate them. They've told us how they want to be educated on cervical cancer. They've answered the question, do you want us to bring you an HPV test kit at home? Or do you want to come to a facility and pick it and give the sample to us and go? And the answer was completely different from what we had taught. So a project that we named home-based could not be home-based because they wanted it at the facility, even for self-sampling. But this was co-creating and adapting to the intervention. The role of men. When we have talked to women and you finish and they say, thank you very much, this is important. Let me go home and ask my husband whether I can screen. So we have targeted engaging men and asking them, what is the issue? Why does your wife need permission to have cervical screening? What could we do to make it such that you would be okay to hear that your wife went and got a test done and not be angry? And for healthcare workers, we've sat with them and asked them, what materials do you want that will make you be able to offer screening, and what job aids do you want? So co-creation with the different cohorts of people to map our interventions appropriately. So this is one of the earliest before implementation science, and with support from Drake, we were grateful for that. We produced this educational material that we printed and were distributing in the hospital to all women, including the Fanti, Awozia Nokukram, Za Ocherde Ehufa Biara. We produced all of that and we're sharing it. But as we met with the women, they told us even many who read Fanti, who speak Fanti, do not read the Fanti. And even the English-speaking people, nobody want to read a book anymore. So they would want to be cooking what an educational material is being played. They told us how many minutes they are ready to listen to. And hopefully I've not gone beyond the minutes you are ready to listen to me. So they have basically guided us in the process of what they want and how they want it done. So what I'm showing you here is one of our publications where we change towards an implementation science approach. So you see that we now adapt our communication intervention. We still have the self-sampling in there, and we still use women living with HIV to make sure we see how we can improve cervical cancer screening. And this is a protocol paper published just last year towards the end. And this one is from our NIH 5-year project that will end in 2029. We are grateful for the funding that allows us to again see how we can improve cervical screening using women living with HIV, but conducting a trial that allows us to see which of the implementation strategies they have told us they want would work. So we would continue doing this new approach to designing interventions. But no matter what we do, the health system needs to support this. So what have I contributed over the years towards health system strengthening? Students here, and I see many different categories, will know that I teach in medical school, I teach nurses, I teach midwives, I teach lab technologists, I teach, just bring any students I teach. And any of these health categories, I make sure that even if HPV and its related issue is not their research focus, they are at least not blind to it. At the least, they will go home and ask their mother whether she has screened. And for those already in the hospitals working, I have continued to offer with the team in-service training, whether through CPDs and everything. But no matter how you educate the people, if they don't have the equipment, if I train and say, go and screen, but they don't have what it takes to treat a woman, what would be the case? So along the line, we kept building and we offer the equipment now as part of our training packages. And then we mentor. And CCTH now mentors all other sites in the region where we are expanding to. This is the first training that I was involved in. And here you see my London school supervisor, Philippine, and he came to Cape Coast, had a very bad experience with one jollof meal. But beyond that, we had a good training session where we trained healthcare workers. Rashida, where are you? She should be here somewhere, still offering service. I'm happy to offer this. And we continue mentoring them by going there to follow up. So finally, the other aspect of my work has involved the policy engagement. So the current guidelines for managing HIV care has finally had a whole chapter for the first time on cervical cancer prevention for women living with HIV. What I hope and my dream is that it would go beyond just having a chapter, and that is my charge to the NACP to join this quest. Me trying to be a clinical microbiologist, my classmate Prof. Akako now as an anatomic pathologist, and we trying to do this with one nurse here, one nurse there, and now we have this whole list there. And yesterday, after apologists, this is yesterday, who basically said, I want to be part of your research work to look at that anthropology aspect. I said, that one will need a Zoom meeting because I don't understand. But this is it, that many different facets can come to confront this HYDRA-HEADED issue. So looking ahead, this is not my retirement speech. I am not ending this work. We are going to continue with the team. And of course, today in any field, you cannot continue without saying you will look at the role of AI. So we are going to, and it's not us who are going to begin this. It's already a field in the landscape now about the role of digital innovations and AI in screening and tracking women and hopefully that can help us build a database that would help. So we will continue working in this space. But what could you do? So I am about ending. And so if you are here in one way or the other, you fall into what you could do. If you are in the health sector, you should think about how together we can raise the voice louder towards a national cervical cancer screening in Ghana. It is long overdue, and it cannot remain something in the pipeline. It needs to be a reality. And if nothing at all, we could start with, for example, women living with HIV at the national level, and then move that towards the final thing for the country. If you are in the education space, we had a school-based vaccination campaign that worked quite well, but there are girls in your class who will turn 9 and 10 later. There are some who missed the vaccination. How are you going to also help move the process by reminding their parents to move towards vaccinating them? And this one, the community, involves all of you. Let me speak first to the media. You have the loudest voices because we need to create demand. We need to get everybody aware enough that they go to their health facility and say, what demand for this? And I see regional directors for health here. Please, CEOs, policy needs to move beyond guideline development into resource allocation. Can you start in your region alone? It says HPV affects us all. Let's tackle it together for one less worry. You would have seen a number of people, ladies around with the one less worry dress. They are from the IPVS Ghana chapter. So let's work together. And I'm happy to have my colleagues, IPVS Ghana ambassadors. We are 3. And so Timmy, you are here, and I'm sure Dasa is also somewhere in there. And working with a team of people who are interested to eliminate HPV-related cervical cancer. This is the team, the army, we are trying to recruit you to join in this quest. In conclusion, or should I continue more? Everything we know shows that cervical cancer is one of the really preventable cancers. It could be eliminated. We have the tools. We know what works for this condition. That is the irony of it. We have the tools. We know what works. We just need to act a bit more proactively in lower and middle income countries. In resource-constrained settings, poverty can no longer be an excuse why 9 out of 10 deaths should be occurring here. Please join the quest. In any capacity you are here, as a parent, as a husband, as a brother, as a wife, in any capacity, join this quest to confront this HYDRA-headed monster, because we need all hands on deck to cut off all the necks in a way that prevents this monster from continuing to wreak havoc in our society. And I thank you for listening to me.
We can do it for the very last time. Congratulations, Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah. Ladies and gentlemen, after listening to such a beautiful and very instructive lecture, you deserve a breather. I would introduce 2 students from the School of Medical Sciences to give us an interlude, and they are Pa Kojo Yeboah in Safo and Josephine Dakwa Ohene. Let's welcome them.
Hello, good afternoon. So please, this is a song from Professor Obiri-Yeboah to her daughter, her daughters, and all women, because every woman is definitely a daughter of someone. Please sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Dear daughter, hold your head up high. Dear daughter, reach for the skies. Through the struggles, through the pain you see, love and strength will carry thee. Life won't always give you what's fair. People will judge, people won't care. But remember your heart, keep it true. Every challenge is shaping you. Walk with courage, walk with pride. Don't let fear and doubt decide. Learn from mistakes, forgive and go. Your roots are deep, let your spirit show. Dear daughter, hold your head up high. Dear daughter, reach for the skies. Through the struggles, through the pain you see, love and strength will carry thee. I hope you know the sacrifices made, the nights we prayed, the tears we laid, Mama's love, Grandma's care, all the wisdom I want to share. Stand for justice, speak your mind, treat yourself and others kind. Through storms and trials, keep moving on. You are my heart, my song. Through the years, remember my voice. In every struggle, make your own choice. Be strong, be still, and I see. The love I give will set you free. Hold your head up high. Reach for the sky. Through the struggles, through the pain you see, love and strength will carry thee. Daughter, hold your head up high. Dear daughter, reach for the sky. Yeah. Mama, love and strength will carry thee. Dear daughter, hold your head up high. Dear daughter, reach for the sky. Through the struggles, through the pain you see, love and strength will carry thee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The title of that song was Dear Daughter, Hold Your Head High, Reach for the Sky. Let's applaud them once again. At this point, I would invite our speaker back onto the stage again, this time for her acknowledgements. For all those who have helped in shaping her to this point, it is time for her to say thank you. Let's welcome her once again.
Thank you very much. Can I have that? I think this is one of the hardest parts in preparing. As for HPV lectures, I give them regularly. But to put almost 50 years of existence in one acknowledgement, I found it very tough to do. So please forgive me. And I want to start by acknowledging all those who deserve to be mentioned, but I will forget to mention. So that is my first acknowledgement. So with that out of the way, I want to really thank the university management, acting vice chancellor, and pro vice chancellor. It hasn't been long since you took up this roles, and I finally get the opportunity to do this. This has been in the pipeline since 2024. So thank you for making it happen. And definitely that was with the team, the registrar, your administrative teams. I am grateful for all the arrangements that made this possible. The past vice chancellors here, please, I know what role you played in my life, Professor Gatiampia. I got many opportunities to serve the university during your time, and I'm happy that interestingly, many things I attend and programs you appear. So thank you for the continuous support. Of course, the immediate past vice chancellor, who is not here, also in his time, I became a deputy director. So Professor Johnson Yakubompon, I want to acknowledge for all the opportunities also. And many other past vice chancellors, because of the time pressure of this period, for those who may not be here, permit me to just say I thank you all for the opportunities since I joined UCC that have been afforded me. And the immediate past pro vice chancellor, Professor Rosemond Bohini, I cannot do, Professor Mrs. Rosemond Abuajua Bohini. And now got all. I cannot thank you enough for the support and the continuous mentorship that gives me even today. I think she was one of the first people here. She has solved problems from cables, HDMI cables, to finding academic gowns, even today. So thank you so much. And Prof. Saradakwa, you are here. We've worked together on a number of things. That is the Dean of School of Graduate Studies. We have worked together on international conference and other things. I'm so grateful for your help. All provosts, past and present of COHAS, I want to thank you for all the time we've worked together. And for all the team that organized this program. So the public relations documentation team, please, Dr. Kobler, the librarian and the library staff for the exhibition. If you didn't pass, by now it's closed, right? Well, they put together a beautiful exhibition in the library. I thank you so much. Professor Angela Kosu, where are you? She is my sister from another mother. Thank you for helping with the organization. Professor Desmond Omani, Professor Nancy Buenyan, Chief Organizing Officers. Where are you? By now they are still running around organizing stuff. So thank you so much. The School of Medical Sciences team, they formed a committee led by my head of department, Dr. Kwabena Danko. I don't know if you are here. Thank you for all the effort. Thank you for doing this. TVUCC, of course, I will thank all the media, but I want to singularly also mention TVUCC. It has been a lot of work with them through the documentary that most of you were listening to before this, and all the organizing and media aspects of this. I am grateful for the role we have fought. We have felt things won't work, and we have had all sorts of emotions, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to have worked with you. And please, for the organizing team, everyone else that played a role. Now, let me take through my life a bit, and I've been struggling with how to arrange it. I decided finally, let me take it by certain themes. So let me take education. So from Suhum, Krabua, Kota district, all the classmates and the Presby and those in the LA, and I know Wisdom Dudley Ofori, you are online. This is my classmate from class 6 that we have remained. He is also a brother from another mother. So on behalf of myself, I thank all those from that stage. Obiri girls, who are the people behind people here? Yes. Thank you so much. It was an interesting experience landing in Obiri girls in the school where students were from Engelbert, SOS, and I stood up in class and said, Suhum Local Authority, JSS, with my chest held high. Abna Ofe Joanna Preko, these are some of the names I'll never forget in my life from my time in the Obiri girls. And as you heard, I did a detour through nursing school, which I'm very proud of, and it's part of everything I say. And I'm happy that Jonah Koto, where are you, my NTC mate? Please stand and let them see you. So we had only 2 men in that class. They were very privileged people. But they were also very supportive. And in fact, these are some of the people who basically sacked me out of the nursing school to go to my medical school. So I thank you for all the role you play. My medical school classmates, I see some lined up together, Professor Wuku, Professor Kapo. Who else is here? Please, let's have a wave from my medical school, Simpson. Thank you very much. It was an interesting class and many stories that cannot be told in public. And of course, let me now take it to my postgraduate training. So if my ordering of things is not the best, please forgive me. I'm just trying a sequence that works in my head. So I want to thank my supervisors, Professor Philip Mayo, and here we have Professor Yahweh Dusa Akodie. Every time I have needed them, they have been there through everything. It was a real partnership. They taught me how to be a postgraduate supervisor, that it is not a fight with the students. It is a fight sometimes, but a very nice, gentle fight. So when I wrote my thesis and the spelling of the word versus, HIV negative versus HIV positive, that word versus, I don't know what happened. I got it wrong every time in the thesis. And when he pointed it out to me, I could see he wished he could give me a blow, but he made me see what was wrong and I addressed it. I never forget that. Of course, I want to specially recognize the SEBA Research Center in Burkina Faso. So we have Dr. Naguil Batao from SEBA here, all the way from Burkina Faso, sent by the team to represent them here. I am so grateful. It has been a really rewarding partnership. Then let me take my professional life. Let me take from the health side first. So I am so excited to see here many of the medical directors and chief executive officers who, based on how much trouble I was giving them because of everything I wanted to do, at some points when they hear my footstep and my heel coming, they wish there was another direction they could get out of the office, but they were there always. So please, let's see you from the first person I went to meet at Central Regional Hospital, Dr. Darius Kofi, through to Dr. Asari. No, I think Dr. Sabin first, then Dr. Asari, and then we have Dr. Injedu. All of them are here. I am so excited. And of course, one person who is not here but could not be left out is Dr. Aaron Ofe. He was the regional director here who would travel to Kumasi and meet medical students final years and tell you why you should come to Cape Coast. And he is the one who would ask you, what do you want to be in the future? And once I mentioned academia, I said, do you know UCC will start a medical school soon? He was the person who called Prof. Amonu Kofi at that time and said, I want to introduce one of your soon-to-be faculty members to you. So Dr. Renofe couldn't make it, but I cannot go on without acknowledging him. And the medical directors along the line, Dr. Evans Econom, Dr. Stephen Laye, I don't know if he was able to make it. And our nurse manager, I worked with her long before she became nurse manager. She's my mother from another where? She can't be my mother. Okay, she can be my mother from another mother. Mrs. Sophia Blanson, please let them see you. To the current nurse manager, Paulina Aduma, I don't know whether she could. She's here. Paulina is here. Thank you. The administrators, Princess Ofori, the head of research, she is also here. Thank you. The public health unit, that was my home in Central Regional Hospital and now Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Can we see all the public health unit staff? It's been decades of working together, fighting together, and everything together. Thank you so much for all the contributions sometimes. So thank you for all the work. Then in academia, School of Medical Sciences. If I want to start by talking about the role of Professor Harold Amonu Kofi, maybe we'll just stay here. But have you had a dean that would basically find a way to sneak into your class before you are even there, and after find a way to tell you how good your lecture was? But you see, if you looked at slide 45, you will see that the font size there was he took academic mentorship as a personal business. Of course, some might not have liked it, but I loved it. He taught me how to prepare slides, how to teach, how to stand in the class, how you were standing in that corner direction. That is that. Professor Gladys Amposa could not be here. She is the one who would go through every question you set and call you and show you where the comments are missing an academic. They really took us on and taught us that. Have you had a faculty officer, Mr. David Labi? Mr. Labi will chase you. Where is your promotion document? You are working, but you are not thinking about your promotion. Now, when I see him coming here, I go that way. Have you had a faculty officer chase you that he wants to get you promoted before? That was Mr. David Labi. And I always tell that story to people and just collecting the documents when we are. Samuel Aqua, Dechi Kwating, these teams of early years, Ben should be somewhere here. All these people and the current staff, as I mentioned, my HOD, for all the hard work and everything we've gone through together. The current dean, Prof. Eliasen. Let them see you small. So thank you, the current faculty officer who came to meet this my inaugural and quickly took it on to help with getting it done. All medical students past and present, I thank you. And if I come to Drake, I spent 5 years there. The first time I went to Drake was Prof. Samuel Enim. I don't know if he could make it. And that was just to know what they do there. And I loved the research angle and started going there. And got the nickname Headmistress. And then Prof. Atuama, well, he couldn't make it. I worked with him as a director. Prof. David Doku, is he? David is here. Dr. Brafo, I work with you as a deputy. And all the Drake staff, please, I cannot mention your names. Akosia is looking at me with some eyes. But thank you all, the regional directors for health that have been here. At least I see the Western Regional Director for Health, Dr. Marion Okowusu. And Marion was my roommates from medical school, my junior, but we were roommates. And so if I have a junior medical school, he's the regional director for health now. Me too, I have some connections. So thank you very much. And I don't know if Dr. Alberta Brichum is here or Dr. Agnes Chairman from the Regional Health Directorate here. I keep working with them. The WHO country office, Dr. Kafui Senya, I don't know if you were able to make it. And the UNICEF country office, Dr. Paul Henry Sani, thank you all, the NACP staff. And then I call these my professional network. So all these HPV works we've been doing, Professor Matt Asari of Baylor University, Prof. Sam Agudu Nadia, Prof. Stephanie Klug of Technical University of Munich. I thank you for all the times we stay at night across time zones to write these grants. And when the rejection letters come, we pat each other on the back and we move on and write again until we get the grant now. So we will keep doing that. And one of my biggest faculty professionally now is the International Dean's Course. So International Dean's Course faculty, the experts, they have been instrumental in everything I'm doing in the leadership trainings in recent times. And here represented, at least we have Professor Irene Krechi, the Dean of School of Pharmacy, UG. You should be here somewhere. Yes, thank you. Professor Lydia Mosi, from Department of Biochemistry, UG, Dr. M.F. Ponsan from Takrady Technical University, all the IDC fraternity that are online. Before the program could start, they began, where is the link? Where is the link? So if you are online, thank you. You got the link, and I hope that you hear yourself acknowledged. Prof. Sombi and the Wahoo team. And then when it comes to partnerships for me, Noguchi Memorial Research Center has been one and will continue to be. And I want to thank the director of the Noguchi, and that is Professor Obiri-Yeboah Menu, who is not here, but represented in their own capacity and also representing him. Here we have Prof. Odum, I've spotted you, Prof. Kusia Samuel. These are the people who have taught me that you don't need to have all the lab in your facility before you can train and get students to do high quality research. Have strategic partnerships and you could do just that. The West African Network for TB, AIDS, and Malaria, I am grateful for the opportunity consortium and all that we have achieved together. And finally, the last type of group, not the last person, I call them my personal persons, okay? So I would not do this without mentioning my late father, Mr. Emmanuel Kobwa Ode. You heard of him. I actually gave a picture of his to be projected somehow. So this is the man everybody who knew me knew that I said, I want to do inaugural because even if I have to bring his bed to the front here, and so far you know that I would bring the bed here, but it didn't happen before he died. So that is him, my rich, and he adds no pain with it. The tree says, Yehuwa nshra ema obi yodefo, nomfa ya obiara nka ho. So once you do your work and do it with the right attitude and passion, God's blessing comes as a byproduct. And so it doesn't feel painful, successful. And I thank him for all of that. My mom is here. Mrs. Mary Abuna Ode is here. My siblings, Yida Pianim, Gideon Ode, Dan Ode, Ephraim Ode. Through the fights, through the tears, we have always kept each other going. They are my biggest supporters, and I thank you. The Obimpe family, here represented by my uncle Judge Obimpe. I saw you come in. The Dare family, represented by Abuna Fialong group. Yes, thank you. My uncle, aunts, nieces, nephews, I am grateful for the relationship we have had over the years. My mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brothers-in-law, all the in-laws versions. Please, where are you? They are also here in massive support. I thank you very much for what you've done for me. And I want to specifically also mention Michael and Grace Akrofi. So these are the people, two people, when I first and finally got to the medical school, I had no plan how I was going to, there was no financial sustainability holiday visa to the UK, and that opened many doors. I might never have thanked you and mentioned how much that opened doors and changed my life, and I wanted to do that here. And I wish you could let them really see you. So thank you very much for that opportunity. Gideon Adumakun is another brother from that mother in the UK with your wife, Linda Adumakun. They are online and they are three beautiful sons. These are my families all the time. And of course, the late Anne from Benjamin, yes, we still remember Anne because the role she played in being my sister and keeping me. She believed in me more than I ever believed in myself. I don't know what Anne saw, but she would never let me say it is too much. She would never let me say that. And I thank you. And it's a painful loss, but I know I'll see her soon. And I strongly believe in that. Professor Daniel Japon, you were in Suwon for 3 days for my father's funeral. You have no idea how much I appreciated that period. My family really were surprised pleasantly, and thank you. I have Professor Toyin Togun in London School Online, Dr. Samuel Mensah, Dr. Sebastian Kenamwa, who are not here. I have here other brothers from other mothers. Martin Uguru, yes, my Nigerian brother from another mother. Dr. Simpson Mensah, I thank you for the decades of friendship that has kept us going. Fred Enim, Ofosujan, and all these brothers and sisters from other mothers. Thank you so much for your friendship. And my mentees, the people who inaugural lecture I'm looking for, Obed Kujo, Dr. Abdul Latif, Dr. Gloria Noel Onuvo, and other mentees. I am going to be at your inaugural lecture, so start preparing. I want to thank two drivers. Charles from School of Nursing, Yosin from the regional hospital has been driving me since 2006. They have seen me prepare slides from the scratch in the car, and they wake me up when we get to the place. They are the drivers who could drive and I can sleep. So I am grateful for what you have done. National service personnel, many of you have been instrumental. Freeman, are you here? He calls himself my personal assistant. He has really, really been instrumental in everything I do. And coming towards the end, my wards, Shelmina, Robert, Eunice, Jayo, Adelaide Mokoko, Asari, who is not here, Andrew not here. You are the children I never delivered, but I have. And through all the tears and fighting and everything, the stories around the roles they have played would be another inaugural lecture for another day. So thank you for your role. And of course, the two people who have been in the front seat enduring everything, Mr. Obiri-Yeboah and Castella Nanama Eiram Obiri-Yeboah. Thank you. All the absences and dragging people around. Thank you very much. And if I missed your name, remember you were thanked before I started. So thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we would all witness a very brief ceremony, and that is what we call the robing, to formally welcome her to the College of Professors. I would invite all members of the College of Professors to come up stage and help us with that ceremony.
members of the College of Professors who are here, you may join us. But I will specifically invite my my big sister, predecessor, Professor Rosemond Bohini, to join me to robe our newly minted professor. So.
With this done, the members of the college will take turns to congratulate Professor Dorcas Obiri-Yeboah. Right, thank you very much, College of Professors. You're taking a group photo together, Prof. Thank you very much. I would invite the registrar, Gideon Enoch Abekwe Esquire, to also congratulate our freshly minted professor. Thank you very much. I would invite our immediate past chairman of the Governing Council of the University of Cape Coast, Reverend Professor Harold Amodu Kofi. Our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Joseph Gate Ampia. Immediate past Registrar, Mr. Jephte Emmanuel Onyame. I would invite Mr. Obiri-Yeboah and Castella, the husband and daughter. All other children, all wards, please come up. All wards, all children, please come up. All children. Prof especially want to do this for her mother. She will descend to the red carpet as we invite her mother to take her turn to congratulate her daughter. Let's welcome Prof. Obiri-Yeboah's mom, a proud mother indeed, to congratulate her daughter. We can applaud mommy some more. All siblings, all siblings, siblings, siblings. Siblings will be followed by the Obimpe Day and Akrofi families. All siblings will take their turn now. Siblings. After siblings, then the Obimpe family, the Day family, and the Akrofi family. We invite the Day family, Day, Akrofi, Obimpe families. The Day family. And the Boateng family too. The Boateng family. The Boateng family.